Good morning, everybody. We back in the building, baby. You all are tuned in to the Couples Lounge, and I got my sexy husband over there. We got some guests in the building, but before we get started, let me tell y'all what's going on. Y'all know the marriage retreat is now live. If you are looking to grow your marriage, to heal in your marriage, to expand, evolve, you all need to be there. October the 6th through the 8th. All you have to do is go to www.spiritualmarriageretreat.com. It's going to give you all the information. Y'all, we're going to be in Granbury, Texas. And we're going to just let God show up and show out. And so make sure that you join us. And I also am going to have some for the ladies coming up. The Power of Me, which is a self-discovery class for you to focus on you. All right, so now let me introduce my guest. We have Mr. Derrick Rubin in the building. Say what's up to the people.
What's up?
And we got Donte Houston.
What's going on?
And let me let my husband introduce himself. Let's see what he do.
Man, this is the second half of the Couples Lounge, man. Checking in.
His name is Remon.
Oh, I'm sorry, baby. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry, baby.
He never can say his name.
We done done it
7 years in.
Baby.
7 years in.
We only got a 400 shows.
Yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, baby.
All right, so we're going to get started. You all, this show is so special to me. Like, I am so excited about this show. The show is titled To Be a Man. And I am just excited to have these kings in the building with me. I just want y'all to know, from a black woman, I love y'all. I love y'all
too.
Definitely.
And so we're going to have a conversation and get some understanding on today from a perspective of being a man, being a father, being in relationship, or being a husband. And so get locked and loaded. Go get your boo thing and tell them to come on and watch the show. Because magic, let's just say magic is about to happen. So I heard a song on Instagram, and it was called To Be a Man by Dax, D-A-X. So go listen to the song if you haven't heard it. And I was telling Mon, like, man, we ought to do a show about this. But I wanted to bring in more men. And so I'm going to play host today, and Mon will be host / guest as well. And so my first question to you all, first of all, married?
Yes, sir.
How many years?
Married 17 and a half, together 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
Single?
Yeah, but was married for a good part of a decade. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got some variety, some diversity on the show. Yeah. And so to be a man, when you heard that, what is your response? To be a man. What is it that I would say as women we need to know that we may not know?
Oh man, I can.
Man. Yeah.
Let me.
There you go.
You moved.
Yeah, I moved it a little bit for you.
Look, let me speak first. Say, I can't speak for all cultures.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Well
I
said.
can speak on what my experience is to be a black man,
Well said.
and to help you guys understand what that's about.
All right, give it to us.
I want black women to understand that when we hear what it is to be a man, I think of responsibility.
Okay.
Right? And how huge of a responsibility that I have, not just for my household, but outside the house.
Mm-hmm.
And the example that I have got to set each day I step out. So that's kind of what it is to be a man for me, and how to really engage and have the knowledge and wisdom to be a good example of a responsible man.
Mm-hmm. And when you say that, is that just in general, or is that for just your family, or just in the community? I represent black men, so when I go out in the world, I make sure I show up a certain type of way.
Oh yeah, for the community as a whole.
Okay.
If I understand that I go out and I set a good example in my community, my family's gonna be proud regardless.
Right.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So my first responsibility is how I present myself when I step outside the Rubin household.
Okay. All right. Talk to me, Donte.
Yeah. what do I believe it means to be a man, and what do black women, because I'm speaking to black women, what do they need to know about us?
Mm-hmm.
That there's a lot of weight on our shoulders.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of weight on our shoulders, and I think the most important thing a black man can do for black women is protect them. But I think understanding that we live in a world that kind of punishes us for trying to do that, right? And what I mean by that is, say, there's an altercation, and I need to protect my woman. As a black man, this could result in my death. This could result in me going to jail for a time period that is extremely long. There's a lot of things that I believe come with protecting black women as a black man that puts us in a space where it's hard to explain. We have to take stock of what black men are dealing with when we're in those environments where, hey man, this dude or somebody is being disrespectful to my wife or to my children. What me as a black man, if I go off immediately, right? What environment am I in? Right. If does me going off harm my children more, or my spouse more, or do I have to say, hey, let's remove ourselves from the situation? And when we get in the car, are you gonna say, oh, well, you should have did this or you should have did that because you don't understand what I as a man may have to deal with in response to me knocking dude out or doing something very aggressive. So that's one of the many things that just come to mind immediately when I think about what I think black women should know about what black men have to consider when it comes to the most important thing that we should be doing, which is protecting our black women and our families.
That's good.
But
that's good.
Remember when we talked earlier, and he's hitting right on that when I talked about how, as black men, you guys need to also understand that we don't always feel safe. Now, that's not a matter of fear, but it's also what he's talking about. We don't always feel safe because we've got to protect you guys. We got our name and all this other stuff that goes on. And I'm not just talking about, and Donte, as you know, not just talking about the police.
Right.
I mean, we used to that. We used to be following in stores.
Right.
It's the other part of the protection and providing that we don't always feel safe with when it comes to y'all.
Okay.
So I feel you, Donte, on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that was a moment right there. And what I'm hearing is not condemning y'all for not being aggressive or taking this stance in the moment. Because you're scanning the whole, you scanning everything. You're looking at everything and what is in the best interest of myself, of my family. Because if you gone, then now, woman, you gotta hold it down by yourself. And so you all to not be condemning your man because it doesn't look like what you think it should look like in that moment. But I also hear that black men can have self-restraint. That is not this aggressive gorilla it's not that. I got to look at this whole picture and I choose to move this way. And so just be mindful of that, ladies. To be a man, baby.
We're the most loved and most hated. We're the most feared. We're the most copied. We have a target on our back. As a black man, we already come with a stigma that the world has placed upon us. It's not by coincidence that we are in prison given more time for the same crime that another race may commit. That's not a coincidence. Also, not only do we have a target on the back, at times, a lot of times, hopefully it's getting better, we wasn't raised, and dare I say, in a manner we should be, to prepare us for this world, prepare us to take care of a household, to be an example in the community. It's too many households growing up without fathers. So how do you become a man without seeing one? Can you? Of course, it happens, but it's difficult for you. You're going to have to stumble and bump your head and learn a whole lot of ways to do this while becoming a man. So what a lot of women should realize, the man that you have is coming with trauma. He's coming with not only trauma from the world, from society, how they treat us, how he was raised, things he's seen. So just understand, a black man is a precious, precious thing. I saw something yesterday on TV, and it sums this up. I forgot. It was an actress. I forgot her name. It'll come to me. It got a divorce, and her husband basically cheated. And she said they got to the point now where they're cool. They can have conversations now. And she was like, "Man, what happened?" Just in conversation, she said they had twins. One of the kids died. One of the twins died. She said everybody rallied to you, praying for you, baby. You gonna be okay. You gonna be okay. He said, no one came to me. He said, no one prayed for me. No one considered how I was doing. Everybody just assumed that I was okay because I had to be okay for you. So I had to put this front on for you to be strong for you, as he should, as your husband, as your man. But no one came to him. Sometimes, as a black man, we deal with that.
With you saying that, my question is, were you saying how black men are raised, the trauma, the things that come with it, just growing up? We're going to shift a little bit to, because of that, my question is, why are men reluctant to get therapy, to get coaching? And have any of you had it individually to know what you come with or what your life experiences are? Why is there a reluctancy there?
Yeah, if I could touch on it real
Absolutely.
quick. What's crazy about that, I've been to therapy multiple times out of my own desire, but the way I got introduced to it was I was in the Marines and I went to Afghanistan and I went to combat and, came back and was obviously a different person.
Okay.
And I decided then, because I knew I was different, people around me were like, yo, bro, you a little aggressive, I went to therapy. And going to therapy while I was in the military, we spent more time talking about my childhood than we did about Afghanistan. You know what I mean? It was crazy to me going from, I'm expecting to talk about, some of my friends that died, some of the things I've seen, some of the things I had to do. And instead we're talking about, my childhood, how I didn't have my dad around and all of these different things. And I learned a lot about myself by going through therapy, and I learned a lot about other people just in general. But in terms of the reluctance, it's not something that's really preached. For anybody watching, think about how you were raised. You crying, you done got your behind told up, and the next thing you know, you be quiet, probably need something else to cry about. Or there is no empathy in the home. Right,
Not for the boys.
Exactly, not for the boys at least, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not finna go out and seek it from a stranger. I didn't even get it in the crib, so
Yeah.
I don't even know how to interact with this. So I lucked into it. Maybe it wasn't luck, but because I did have a real issue that I needed to deal with. But I was introduced to therapy that way, and once I saw the value in it, it was like, oh, it's a no-brainer now. Like if I ever feel like I'm going through something, and I want to talk to somebody that's outside of my life that can give me some, some clarity, I definitely will sign up for it. So I highly recommend it for anybody that's considering it.
How did it change you?
It made me more cautious in the way I react to certain things. And it also made me take stock in how I respond to disrespect. And what I mean by that is that, do I always have to go off? Do I always have to be aggressive? Or is not necessarily the smart thing, but the healthy thing to do is to sit back, because a lot of times you have time to react. You don't have to do nothing immediately.
Yeah.
Well said.
So what I do now is I take time and I analyze and I think about what decision I would make and where that decision is going to lead.
Right.
So for instance, if I'm in a situation where hypothetical, I'm in a club with a lady, we're having a drink, a guy walked by and grabbed her. Old me probably would have got physical immediately. New me would be like, there's a conversation to be had first. Hey, bro, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Right. Now we can talk about
Even in the delivery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even in delivery, it isn't like I'm finna hit you. It's like, hey, bro, like I'm gonna give you like your space to. I'm gonna give you some grace real quick. Don't do that.
Or even just the
Yeah.
you good, black
Yeah,
man?
you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
Like, we're
right,
not even
right.
going
You see what I'm
right
saying?
because neither one of us needs to go to jail. Neither one of us needs to die.
Right,
And not only
right.
let's not create a traumatic experience for everybody in here because everybody's trying to have a
right.
good time.
Right.
You know, I don't know what your situation is. Maybe you didn't mean it. Maybe whatever. I don't know. Let's have a conversation about how we're not going to continue to do that, and then we're gonna enjoy the rest of our night, right? So I think that's where therapy. It brought hesitation. Like hesitate a little bit before you do something. Make sure you're in the right mind before you make a decision, and then that way, when you make the decision, you can live with the outcome.
Right.
Because it's like, I thought about it. I did. Yeah, I made that
right,
decision.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the aggressiveness
Right.
that we can be stereotyped with, right? It comes from. It may not even always come from home. If you grew up in the hood in the summer, you probably have fist fight every day.
Yeah.
You see
Right,
what I'm saying
right,
with your
right.
homeboy?
Right,
Something,
right.
And then y'all play ball together.
Right,
There's
right.
always this competitiveness that goes on.
Yeah.
Right,
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
even in those instances that Donte is talking about, it's not necessarily always in anger
Yeah.
that creates it. It's just we had this common thing that even if we didn't grow up in the same neighborhood, these dudes knew exactly what I was talking about, and they ain't from West Oakland like I
Yeah.
am.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
Right.
see what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
There's something, Candace, I can walk by another black man, and instead of I can be like, "What's up, black man? Stay safe," and he'll be like, "I feel you."
Yeah.
Yep.
I already know.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
y'all's
Facts.
own language.
Yeah,
It's
it's
our
Yeah, yeah,
own
yeah.
language, and I ain't
Absolutely.
never got to see him again.
Yeah,
No.
absolutely. I know when I talked to you, Derek, you was telling me about, I asked you about the therapy part, and you say you believe you did coaching through MOJ.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about that experience and how that impacted you.
Well, the first thing I had to like
MOJ, I'm sorry, is Men of Joshua. It's a
it's a discipleship program that we have at our church. And so my term was, I think my class went 18 weeks, right? And it was just a breaking down and a peeling away of all those layers you got that's built up. We all have common things that we were told in our household. Boys don't cry. You don't show no emotion, and all that does is it manifests itself in anger.
Yeah.
Right. When you outside and you a kid, you outside playing, something happened. You 5-6 years old. You can't cry because boys don't cry.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So the Men of Joshua class actually helped me peel away all those layers of how I felt that I'm supposed to behave. You know what I mean, in a certain environment, and just realize who I was. Donte went through his thing with therapy, right? I came to the same realization after these got me in trouble.
Okay.
You see what I mean? I don't listen, bro. Your temper, the way you set up, you know what I mean? Because always in this defense mode, you got to think first. You got to talk first. Then you had kids. Right. And all of a sudden, when you in that room and you got this, you holding your first child, and you like, well, man, who the hell am I to raise this person to be a responsible adult?
Yeah.
So then you start taking those things into consideration, and you have other people that you're responsible for.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so you realize, you come to a point where you like, listen, I kind of suck at running my life because of the way I was raised, and I just need an MOJ in Christ to help me out with that.
Okay. And I as me and Mom work with couples and mostly married couples, and then I'm working with individuals, I'm like, definitely when it comes to husbands and going off what Mom was saying as to how you raise and how you come up. In my mind, because you all are called to be leaders, as a leader, therapy, coaching, something like you saying, doing something outside of yourself to be better it has to be a requirement to lead a family, to lead kids. The call to be a leader, and even if you took it outside of the home, if you took it into as the CEO of a company, there are some things that you are called to do as a leader that you have to be operating at the top of your game more times than not. not to say you're going to be perfect,
Right.
but I just feel like all husbands, and this is a plea to husbands, you are called to lead, you are called to love your wife in a very special way. And there is going to be a part of you that have to desire being the best version of yourself. And it's gonna I think everybody needs therapy, counseling, coaching, something, because we've all been through something. So, and plus I've been through it, so I can see how I was before and how I am afterwards, and how it has shifted me and how I am as a wife, as I am as a mother, as I am as a friend. Because I changed internally, it has shifted how I am with everybody. What is it to be the lead? As a man, to be a leader, what does that look like? And I'm telling y'all, this question is really coming because I posted some on our couples lounge page, and it was where this man was like, if you treat a woman this way, she'll respond because they are responders. It's for me to do this, that, and the other. And one man was like, well, if it's issues in a relationship, who starts first in correcting it? And I'm like, well, if it's the husband, he's the lead. Right. And then you get back to this pointing fingers, well, you need to change that first before I change it. I'm like, but really it should be the husband that leads, but it could be either one if they both realize that it's an issue. So what does leadership look like from a husband perspective? Because Donte, you've been married before, but even as in a relationship with a woman, for a man to lead, what does that look like? And we can start with you, Mon.
What does it look? It looks like us leading. What I mean by that, we be the example.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is that we need or require in our household, let it start with us. Let it be seen through us. Simple.
Okay. Whichever one of y'all want to jump. What does it look like to lead?
You know what? I think leadership starts before you even get in a relationship. I think women should emphasize that trait in guys, and I think what will happen is if women emphasize that trait, men will adjust. We'll start to take leadership more seriously. Like, you're right. You know, it's only natural. If we realize that women are emphasizing leadership and the qualities they want in a man, then we gonna be that way from the jump. And when I say it starts like that, from the moment I meet you, you should sense the competency level of leadership. From the moment, at least look for it. I mean, but on my end, it should be visible, right? Like the moment you meet me, it should come off of me, not in an abrasive or I'm gonna tell you what to do kind of way. A quiet confidence.
The only issue I have with that, depending on the age, the woman is not looking for that. She's looking at the physical features, the monetary issues that you can provide. She's not looking long term. Is this a good leader? Because when you're young, and that's simply, I just think, just the age.
But let me touch on that a little bit, right?
I like when all of them start adjusting.
Hold on, wait a minute.
And the reason I say this, right, because I asked a group of women, right, when you mentioned the money piece, right, I asked a group of women, what does that look like for you? Is the money what is really attractive to you? Or is it that, well, hold on though, or is it that you see a guy who knows how to get up and go get it, right? As the part that, and they said, hold on, they said, listen, I see a dude who know how to get up and go get it. Right. That's what I want. They don't want a dude laying around, but that still have money.
But to that point and your point about, early on, women aren't looking for leadership per se. They're looking for the physical, the money, yada, yada, yada. Right. I mean, if you're a leader, that kind of comes with it, right? Because I know I take care of myself. It ain't got nothing to do with a woman. It got something to do with me. If I walk in, if I get up in the morning and I'm going to the restroom, I walk by the mirror and I don't like what I'm looking at. Okay, well, we need to go a little harder next time we go to the gym. That's leadership, taking leadership. And
ownership.
Ownership of your own life, leading yourself. Right. So I think that's going to make you more attractive. That's going to make you more financially stable. So leadership, I think that's just the foundation. personally.
Okay. To be a man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
be a man.
and practicing it and seeking it out. And the best way to seek it out is to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Put yourself in situations that are forcing you to grow. That was one of the main reasons why I joined the Marines. I was like, man, I come from a messed up home per se. There's a lot of traits that or things that I wish I had or know that I'm gonna get from the military that I didn't get at home. Things like commitment, honor, leadership, experience, being put in situations that forces me to grow. Literally forces me. There's no way you can't grow after doing 5 years in the Marine Corps. You're gonna learn something about yourself, right? So, and any other thing I decided to be a part of since then, the mindset has been the same. This is going to force me to grow in areas that I currently am lacking in. So, in turn, by putting myself in those situations and overcoming coming out of them, I can't help but be a better leader because now I have more experience.
Well, but let's years ago, right, before Cornelia was at the building was in, Pastor Goins gave a sermon called Three Levels of Masculinity, right? Every male ain't a man, but every man is a male, but every male ain't a man, right? And the 3 levels were malehood, manhood, and a godly man, right? So a male have sex with whatever he want to, doesn't have any discipline over his sexual prowess. Will do the minimum, things like that, right? If you get with a woman who have kids, them your kids, that kind of thing, right? A man, he gonna get up, go to work every day. He may have, y'all heard the saying, it's a pole rat that only got one hole, right? He may have a different hole to duck into with another woman at another house, but he gonna take care of home. He if the woman got kids, he gonna make sure they fed, all that. But as long as home taken care, I'm gonna go out and do what I want.
Right.
The godly man, now you talking about the man who does everything the man has except he's got discipline. He's got things, he's gonna be constructive.
Right.
He understands the value and the responsibility he has, right? And he knows his safety net is the Lord, right? But First Peter tells us, live with your wife in an understanding way so that your prayers won't be hindered, so they won't hit the ceiling. Right. I tell Connie all the time, but you got to make my job easy. You see what I'm saying?
Ooh.
And she does do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when it comes to the leadership, I think we really got to step into that godly man part.
Ooh.
Right.
Because the male or just the man can destroy a young man or a young woman.
Quick.
Look, yeah, see how it's flowing? It's just flowing right along. I ain't even need no notes today. We just taking what these men are saying and going with the flow and being in the flow. And I think what all of them has said something really good. And what I was hearing when Donte was talking, in addition to just being the leader, stepping out and doing things that make you feel scared, men. And I think sometimes ego can take part in that. And keep you comfortable because you're scared that I may fail, or what if it looks like this, or it don't pan out like I think it should look. But be all right with challenging yourself, because like he said, when he succeeds, that it boosts confidence. Right. And it, again, makes you feel like, oh yeah, I can do it. And those are qualities of a leader. And speaking about being a godly man, like that right there that sets a man apart from the average man when you got a relationship with God, and that's a striving. So I just want y'all to just take that and speak on however you want to speak on it. Because, again, that goes back to what I was saying, like with men that choose to be a husband and getting therapy. I know God has got to be the foundation in a relationship, in a marriage, in our individual life. But as a husband, and I know, in church, you see more women. I would say Conania, though, has
we got a lot of men.
A lot of men at Conania, and it's not the average. And so to be a godly man, just speak on that from whatever you feel like in your heart to speak on.
so to kind of tie the last point I had with this, when you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, you put yourself in challenging situations, and you have to overcome those things. It also brings you closer to God, because now when I pray, let's say I'm going through a hard time. God, I remember when you brought me through Afghanistan. Lord, I remember when you brought me through college. Lord, I remember when you brought me through. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, God, God, I see
You
it.
done
I see
showed
it.
me.
You done showed me.
Right.
You done showed me, and it also humbles you because, people see what you've been able to accomplish up to that point in your life, and then they say, oh, yada, yada, yada. And then you don't even know what God did to make sure I got through that. You have no idea that there was a time where I was supposed to go on a patrol, but for some reason God saw that I didn't go, and the guy that went in my place was the guy that died. You know what I mean? That those are the things that you and not that God didn't protect that person, but God still had things for me to do.
Yeah.
Right? So by putting yourself in these crucibles per se, because look at all of the prophets in the Bible. Everybody went through something. Everybody went. I mean, look at Job. Job was good at first for everything, and then he went through his later. So I mean, at every point, don't run from the things that are going to make you grow, because they're not only just going to make you a better leader, but they're going to bring you closer to God, because you see the track record, you see God moving through your life.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. The godly man. It's a journey. It's a walk. It's constant. Right. One of the things that I think that we as godly men always have to understand, right, is Candace's mom's wife. Right. If I never knew him, this still my sister. This still God's child. Who am I to harm her?
Yeah.
And that's how I look at my wife. This is why, 17 and a half years of marriage, we hadn't had an issue with adultery, right? Because who am I to bring harm to God's child? You see what I mean? And now I have a daughter. You see what I mean? And bring harm to her is gonna be a problem, right? So it's the same. It's the same way. I understand if I were to bring harm to one of God's daughters, he's gonna be displeased with me, right? And being the head and wearing the heavy crown, that's all I got to fall back on is him. You see what I mean? My wife can fall back on me, right? But she gonna follow me She gonna follow me as I follow the Lord. You see what I mean? So the last thing I need is for my prayers hindered and the Lord forsaking me.
Right. Now, as he stated, man, it's a journey. It's a constant strive every day. It's a constant walk. I saw a preacher this week make a sermon. He said, when people say God doesn't put on you no more than you can bear, he's like, man, that ain't true.
That's a lie.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? When he first said it, I'm like, what? Because I've heard that so much. He said, yeah, God will put more on you than you could bear, just so he can show you
that
I got you.
Right. I got the rest of this.
Yeah, it's too much. Right. Yeah, you don't know how you
can't do this without me. You cannot
so
do this
let
without
me show you how I'm gonna carry you through this. I was like, whoa, hold on, Pastor.
Yeah.
Like he had me, and I'm at work watching.
You got goosebumps.
Right, I really did. I was like, wow, that was powerful.
Right.
So it's a journey being a godly man. Also, I will say this. Today's success doesn't mean it will be tomorrow's. You're going to fall short in some way. Right. Somehow you may be unkind with your words. You might have bad thoughts. Right. Do not let today's failure hinder you for tomorrow.
Man, sometimes you just wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you like, why do I got an attitude? Ain't nobody done nothing to me. My wife done brought me coffee in the bed. You know what I'm saying? It ain't early.
Right.
Nah,
for real.
Right. That's real.
And you got to pray your way out of that.
You got to pray your way out of it.
To.
Also, your kids could be just acting up,
Doing
something. My son done wrecked my car.
Right.
I told him not to drive it.
Right.
You know, also, I would say this, and a lot of people don't say this. Your spouse can piss you off.
Absolutely.
I say it. We could upset each other, hurt each other. How do you respond?
Right.
In the midst of that.
Right.
That is the key. that a lot of married couples have to do better at.
Mm-hmm.
When you're upset, when you're feeling hurt,
Mm-hmm.
am I still gonna walk in a godly manner? Am I still gonna talk
Right.
in a godly
Right.
manner? Am I still thinking
Mm-hmm.
am I praying at this moment
Mhm.
like I should? Or am I being petty and responding?
Yeah, am I trying to punish my partner?
A godly
right,
man,
right, right,
absolutely,
right,
a
right,
godly
right,
man
right,
is
right.
something you
Mhm.
have to strive for
Absolutely.
every day. You never get to a point to where I'm good. I ain't got to worry about this no more.
But you know
Yeah,
what? The
yep.
arguments,
Mm-hmm.
it's ego and pride. We
Absolutely.
all understand that, right?
Right.
But at the same time, you understand whatever Candace is going through, she ain't gonna tear your household up.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So plenty of times I done said to Connie, whatever it is, it's not worth this to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? And if you feel this strongly about whatever it is, handle that.
Absolutely.
Right. Well said.
I ain't gotta win the doggone argument.
Right. Right.
Cause I'm gonna want something tonight.
Keep it
Right.
a buck. Keep it a buck. Keep it a buck.
Yeah, that whole conversation right there. Yeah, y'all need to play that one back and just get your notepad out and write down. Oh my God, that was so much just the understanding that it's not even every day. It's a moment by moment thing
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you're going to have to depend on God.
Yes.
And that's the power of having a relationship with God, is knowing that you don't have to do nothing by yourself. Even in your marriage, even with your career, all those inflictions or moments of lesson or moments of let me depend on God right here. How can I reach for God right here? And and they're gonna come in the marriage.
Mhm.
And I want to talk about, before we get out of here, about fatherhood. In his song, he said, our sons are our horizon.
Mm.
And they basically are looking
that's deep.
at us.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to have you set it up to where they can't let you see them cry. Has it been set up? Are you setting it up that your son won't allow his emotions to show? You know, I want to ask y'all this. What have you, when you talk about generational patterns,
Right.
what have you broken with your son? If you've seen a pattern like, my dad showed up like this, my granddaddy showed up like this,
Right.
I was even showing up like this, but I made a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you was showing up like that with your son
Right.
when he was 5 or 10, whatever the
Right,
case,
right.
but no, I'm breaking this.
When I used to smoke weed,
Okay.
right? I was having a conversation with my son not too long ago. He's down in Houston now. And he said, Pop, this is my oldest, my 27-year-old. He said, when growing up, he said, I knew you smoked weed, but I never saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are certain habits that I've had in the past that I never let my kids see.
Right. Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing, my father's been married 3 times, right? My mother was the first. And I've seen him in some real arguments with his wives.
Mm-hmm.
Never saw him cuss him out. Never saw him put his hands on him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So to this day, I don't curse at my wife. Never put my hands on him, and that's something I'm passing down to my sons as well. Bad habits I had. I mean, I'll be 55 this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's a complete generational gap between us.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
And it's just some stuff that I might do that he might be like, Pop, that's ancient.
Right.
That he just ain't gonna pick up.
Right.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
But you got a son, huh?
Mm-hmm. I do. And my son, he's on the spectrum, so he's autistic. But really, this is about both him and my daughter. One thing that I've ended for us is, and this is just my personal choice. I don't judge anybody who decides differently, but I don't put my hands on my kids. personally. And the reason why I don't is because based on my own experiences. I grew up in a household where, spare the rod, sport the child. Like, you're going to get this
But
work.
you also had that 0 to 100 thing, too, going for a second.
Yeah. I mean,
You know what I'm
but
saying?
that's my thing is that it stems from that. That's why I spend a lot of time talking about my childhood because I was taught that, the way to get somebody to do what you want them to do is you put your hands on them. Right. So what I and the problem is, and we see this in the high schools is, okay, now I'm 6 foot, whatever, 200 some, and I'm in class, and I know legally the teacher can't hit me, and I know that even if they wanted to, they can't get down with me, right? So now I'm not listening because the only form of respect I was taught was always supported by violence, right? So what I teach my kids is, you're going to listen to me because I'm your father and I love you, and that's just what you're supposed to do. So now it's easier for my kids to behave in school because they just understand authority just on a fundamental level. Like, this person's in charge, I'm not in charge. They tell me to do something, I do it. That's it. It's not because, well, if I don't do it, what they gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying? Because you teach your kids that subconsciously. Not only that, I want my daughter to be able to say, like, bro, my daddy ain't even put his hands on me. What makes you think it's completely foreign? I want it to be completely foreign to her. The idea of somebody putting their hands on her in that way. Now, I won't say that I've never popped my son out of frustration because, again, I was raised that way. So I've had my moments where I was like, you know what I'm saying? But I remember one time, it's so foreign to my kids. I remember one time my son was just acting, and he was acting fool, and I popped him. And I kind of felt bad after I did it. But my daughter was like, "Did you hit him?" Like, she was confused. Like, did you? Man, you ain't
where they
never,
do that at?
We like, what is going on? We okay? Like, are we okay?
She checking on you.
Exactly. It's so, and again, it's not something that I judge. I got people in my family that don't necessarily agree with it. We don't argue about it or anything. They respect. They listen to my reasoning. They respect it. But and I don't judge anybody who decides to do differently because these are your children. You love them. You're gonna raise them how you want to. But I found by choosing to do that and by ending that, that my kids are more. We can have conversation, have real conversation. The fear isn't there. And honestly, if I raise my voice, they get the picture. So that's what I've ended personally.
Yeah, and that's the power. That voice thing.
Yeah.
A man's presence is definitely felt without aggression. Just like, and that's another reason to do the show. I want to say that men, your presence is powerful. You ain't even got to say much. You can walk in the room, in any room, and your presence is felt. That's how powerful you really are. If you don't feel it, if you don't know it, your beingness is powerful.
Wow. But you know what's bigger was when my father told me he was proud of me.
Yes.
That was bigger than him saying I love you.
Yeah.
Right? Because even my father is 75. Man, I love you, Pop. He, to this day, like I said, I'll be 55 this year in August, right? To this day, I still say, man, I'm still trying to make you proud.
Already.
I know he loved me.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But my father come out the civil rights era and all that.
Right.
That whole different tough black man.
Yes, indeed.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that a whole different kind of dude.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? When that dude tell you, I brought you in this world, I take it out.
He
mean that.
Like, well, I'm gonna pay I done heard that a couple times.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
they had to be different.
They had to be different.
Totally different.
So that word, those words, I'm proud of you.
Bro, when you say that, I've said that to my son on several occasions.
Right.
But I remember distinctly one time I said, and I saw my son's eyes well up. But I've told him that before. But I was just, man, like, son, I am so, man, like, I was just really hot because I was really proud of him. And I'm not going to lie and say I remember what I said it for, but I do remember his eyes. That really touched my son.
My oldest told me, I'd rather you be mad at me than disappointed.
Wow.
My
That's real.
daughter told
That's
me
real.
the same
Wow.
Real.
I could see that too.
Disappointment is
I could
something
see
else.
that. I could see
Right.
that.
When my grandfather told me he was proud of me, man, I feel like I could have died that day, man. I done accomplished.
I ain't gotta be
I
no more.
done
Right,
done everything I
right,
needed to
right.
do, God.
Right,
I'm good.
right.
I done made the man proud,
Right,
man.
right,
So
right.
you know,
It
it
is.
means a lot,
It
man,
does.
for
It does.
for the man that raised you
Yeah.
to tell you that he's proud of you.
Yeah.
It means the thing about men is that our legacy is very important to us.
Wow.
It's incredibly important to us, whether we talk about it a lot or not. Our legacy is very important. We want to know that when we pass down our blood, we did the best we could, and the best way for us to know that is to look at our seed and see them thriving, and to be like, it's like, man, okay, I did what my seed is thriving. They got it from here, right? Because all of our time is limited.
Yeah.
So, that's what our legacy is very important. And I think that's why it just hit. So to know that you solidified that for your father or whoever raised you, it's like, yo, your legacy through me, your legacy is solidified.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Absolutely.
I've told my son, because my son plays basketball in junior college, and we would, during the summer and even in high school, we would get up early in the morning, go to the gym, work out. We in the gym 5:30 in the morning, doing basketball drills and that. But I am more proud of the guy he is than watching him play basketball is just
love it.
Oh my God,
That
my
ain't
heart
who he
just
is.
oh man. But the type of individual my son is brings me so much joy.
Right.
Seeing how my oldest daughter is special needs. And I will come home, my son done fried up some fish and potatoes and then feed it. Like,
got it eating good.
if she's there with him, she's good. If my other daughter's there, she's good. They're okay because big bro is there.
Right.
And he's gonna make sure his sister's okay.
He already took on the leadership.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Legacy,
He
man.
already took it on.
Making straight A,
Right.
B student.
Legacy,
And
solidified.
My son is the type of guy, he's 19. And if he has a girl, like he's completely faithful, loyal, not looking at another chick. And it's just like, first of all, who the hell are you? Like, that wasn't me at 19.
Not at
but
19.
I love it.
Yes.
Right.
I
Yes.
freaking love it because
Yes.
what he saw was me kissing on her, rubbing on her,
Loving on her. Right.
I never gave my son my college stories of me running around and me doing. I didn't want him to
replicate
think it was
that.
cool.
Well, they all can't handle that.
No.
They all your kids can't handle your past.
No.
You see what I mean?
No. Here's the crazy part. I've told my daughter those stories. Not my son. I told my daughter
And
those
I know why.
stories.
I know exactly
for
why.
preparation,
For
Babe,
protection.
Right.
This is
right.
some games that
Right,
we play.
right,
absolutely.
Right.
So just because he doing, baby, that don't mean nothing.
Right,
Don't
right,
mean
I
nothing.
need you to understand that.
Right. Please,
You know,
don't.
and
Right.
I'm trying to prepare her.
Right,
I didn't
right.
tell him because I didn't want him to think, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I want you to do the same. Because I don't.
Right.
Because I don't.
Okay. Woo! Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up. Y'all know at the end of the
Wait, we
show,
over?
we always. I know it moves
Yeah,
so
right.
fast.
Y'all come on my house.
We always wrap up with a somebody should have told me moment, and that's just something that you wish you would have known. Maybe you've learned through the experience, but if somebody would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have took this route or that route. But we still count it all joy. You know what we went through.
Right.
And it can be a wrap up of something maybe you even heard on the show that's like, dang, you know, an aha moment. So somebody should have told me. It could be whatever it is about being a man, whether it's fatherhood, whether it's husband, whether it's just man in general. 30 seconds.
What I wish somebody would have told me, don't let today's failure get me too down. Do not let today's success go to my head. There's always going to be good and bad days, constantly striving to do better, keeping God the center of my life, and know each day is a new day.
Man, I think what I wish somebody would have told me is when trust people to be themselves and trust yourself to be able to handle how trust yourself to be able, if somebody's, man, how do I explain this? If somebody is this is for people who are scared to get in relationships, they're afraid of trusting.
Okay.
Trust yourself to be able to handle whatever happens. so that you are able to love. If
love
you think you can't handle it, you're never gonna open up yourself to love, and then you're never gonna find it. So, I this is something that I've learned recently. I love now. I love freely, more open, and if I'm betrayed in the process or am I hurt in the process, I trust that I'll be able to handle it. So, and that's why I wish somebody would have told me that sooner, but I'm glad I got it now.
Yeah. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, I want to talk about failure again.
Okay.
You know that failure isn't the end of the road; that it's a stepping stone,
Oh,
a learning experience. I think that would have helped me to be further along in life than I am. However, I think God had a perfect plan for me. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And a living example of you can come out of lockup and be where you and still make it.
Yeah.
You don't have to succumb to your environment and things like that. But I think that in those places though, Candace, some stuff, man, you just got to learn.
Yeah,
It ain't nothing
absolutely.
nobody can tell
They
you.
can tell you all they want. You got to go through that one.
You could have
Yeah.
told me that failure was just a stepping stone and a learning moment. But when you fail,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, heartbreak too. You could have told me
Heartbreak,
heartbreak hurts, and
Right.
you got to go through that one.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
feel that
To
one on your
learn.
own.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Ooh. And so I would say, and I've said this on one of our shows, we've been doing this for 7 years, is what I wish somebody would have told me is just how they opened the show of what a man carries, what a man deals with, what really is going on for the man, because we went through an experience early on in our marriage where Mom wasn't working and I didn't handle it in a godly way, as a way that a wife should have handled it, as a woman, if we got out of God's alignment. But if I would have just taken the time to really understand what my husband was experiencing internally, even if he didn't say it, just taking a breath and understanding that, I would have shown up totally different. And we was able to get a redo, and I was able to do it a little different the next time. So just understanding a man and possibly what he is experiencing. So thank you for tuning in to the Couples Lounge show on today. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Donte. Thank you,
for having
Mon,
us.
Thank you.
for being honest, being vulnerable, and just sharing and pouring into our community. Go register for the marriage retreat. You can come
Yes.
if you're married or engaged.
Absolutely.
Because it's just a different type of relationship. I know some people have asked about dating. But go www.spiritualmarriageretreat.com.
The place is absolutely beautiful. It really is.
Okay.
Oh, right, real quick before we go, Donte.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Yo.
Yo.
Bye,
Had to throw
y'all.
that up there.
They got you.
Peace.